Among the most consequential military engagements in the history of the ancient world, the Battle of Yarmouk stands as a defining moment that forever altered the political and religious landscape of the Middle East. Fought in August 636 CE along the banks of the Yarmouk River, a tributary of the Jordan River located in what is today the border region between modern Syria, Jordan, and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. This clash between the rapidly expanding Muslim Arab forces and the mighty Byzantine Empire decided the fate of the Levant for centuries to come. To understand how this battle came about, one must look back at the extraordinary momentum of the early Islamic conquests. Following the death of Prophet Muhammad in 632 CE, the nascent Muslim state under the first two caliphs, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq and then Omar ibn al-Khattab, launched a series of military campaigns aimed at expanding Islamic rule beyond the Arabian Peninsula. The Byzantine Empire, which had controlled Syria, Palestine, and Egypt for centuries, had been severely weakened by decades of brutal warfare against the Sassanid Persian Empire. That prolonged conflict had drained Byzantine resources, fractured military morale, and destabilized frontier defenses, leaving the empire dangerously exposed on its eastern and southern flanks. The Muslim army, commanded by one of the most gifted military minds of the era, Khalid ibn al-Walid, numbered somewhere between 25,000 and 40,000 soldiers, depending on the historical source consulted. Khalid, famously dubbed the Sword of Allah by the Prophet himself, had never lost a battle in his entire career. His forces were composed largely of Arab tribal warriors, deeply motivated by religious conviction and the promise of both spiritual reward and material spoils. They were mobile, disciplined, and accustomed to the harsh terrain of the region. Opposing them was a Byzantine army reportedly numbering between 80,000 and 150,000 soldiers, though modern historians generally consider the higher estimates exaggerated. Emperor Heraclius, who had masterminded Byzantium's remarkable recovery against Persia just years earlier, was by this time aged and reportedly ill. He did not personally take to the battlefield. Instead, command was entrusted to his brother Theodore and a general named Vahan, an Armenian officer with considerable battlefield experience. The Byzantine force included heavily armored infantry, cavalry, and a significant contingent of Arab Christian auxiliary troops from allied tribes, most notably the Ghassanids. The Muslims had been conducting raids and skirmishes throughout Syria and Palestine since 634 CE, gradually consolidating control over smaller settlements and forcing Byzantine garrisons to retreat. Emperor Heraclius, recognizing the existential nature of this threat, assembled a massive coalition army and dispatched it southward to confront the Muslim forces and drive them back into Arabia once and for all. Khalid ibn al-Walid, demonstrating his characteristic tactical brilliance, drew his forces back from Damascus, which the Muslims had recently captured, and chose a defensive position along the Yarmouk Plateau. This location offered significant natural advantages. The plateau was flanked by deep ravines and the river valley itself, restricting the ability of the numerically superior Byzantine army to envelop the smaller Muslim force. By selecting this ground, Khalid neutralized much of Byzantium's numerical advantage and ensured that the battle would be fought largely on his own terms. The engagement took place over the course of approximately 6 days in late August 636 CE, making it one of the longest set-piece battles of early medieval warfare. It was not a single climactic charge, but rather a grinding, evolving struggle that tested the endurance and adaptability of both sides. In the opening phases, the Byzantine forces launched coordinated attacks along the entire Muslim line, attempting to overwhelm the defenders through sheer weight of numbers. The Muslim infantry held firm, anchored in disciplined formations and bolstered by fierce individual combat. Khalid maintained a mobile reserve force, an innovation not commonly employed by his contemporaries, which he used to plug gaps and counterattack at critical moments. A pivotal episode during the battle involved the Muslim women who were present in the camp behind the lines. When sections of the Muslim army began to waver and some soldiers retreated toward the camp, the women reportedly took up tent poles and weapons, berating and physically confronting the retreating men and shaming them back into the fight. This moment, recorded in multiple classical Arab sources, underscores the total character of the engagement. It was not merely a professional military contest, but a communal struggle in which every participant had a role. On the 5th day, a severe sandstorm struck from the south and east directly into the faces of the Byzantine troops. This environmental factor proved catastrophic for Heraclius's army. Visibility collapsed, Byzantine formations lost cohesion, and coordinated command became nearly impossible. Khalid seized the moment with extraordinary speed. He ordered an immediate, all-out offensive across the entire line, while simultaneously directing cavalry forces to sweep around the flanks and cut off Byzantine retreat routes toward the bridges over the Yarmouk River. The Byzantine army disintegrated under the combined pressure of the Muslim assault and the chaos of the storm. Thousands of soldiers were driven back toward the ravines and the steep banks of the river, where many fell or were cut down trying to retreat. The Ghassanid Arab auxiliaries, whose loyalty to Constantinople had always been conditional, largely abandoned the field early, further accelerating the collapse. The casualties inflicted on the Byzantine side were immense. Classical sources, which must always be treated with some caution regarding precise figures, suggest Byzantine losses in the tens of thousands, while Muslim casualties, though significant, were far lower. The battle was not merely a defeat for Byzantium, it was a catastrophic annihilation of the field army assembled to defend Syria. Upon receiving news of the disaster, Emperor Heraclius, who had been stationed at Antioch, reportedly looked southward toward Syria and uttered his famous farewell. "Peace be upon you, O Syria, what an excellent land you are for the enemy." He then withdrew northward into Anatolia, never to return. The entire region of the Levant, Syria, Palestine, and their surrounding territories now lay open to Muslim rule. Military historians have long debated the reasons behind this stunning victory, and several factors consistently emerge. First and foremost was leadership. Khalid ibn al-Walid's genius for battlefield improvisation and his ability to maintain offensive momentum gave the Muslim army a decisive edge at every critical juncture. Second was motivation. The Muslim soldiers fought with an intensity rooted in religious belief and tribal solidarity that the mercenary-heavy Byzantine force struggled to match. Third was terrain selection. Khalid's choice of the Yarmouk plateau skillfully offset the enemy's superior numbers. Finally, the fortuitous sandstorm, while a matter of chance, could only be exploited by a commander who had positioned his forces to act swiftly, and Khalid had done precisely that. The deep divisions within the Byzantine command structure also played a role. Theodore and Vahan reportedly disagreed on tactical decisions throughout the campaign, and coordination between the army's many different ethnic and linguistic contingents was often poor. This fragmentation stood in sharp contrast to the tight chain of command that Khalid maintained over his forces. The Battle of Yarmouk ranks alongside Gaugamela, Cannae, and a handful of other engagements as one of antiquity's truly world-altering battles. Its outcome ended more than 4 centuries of Roman and Byzantine control over the Levant and initiated a new era of Islamic governance over the region that would last in various forms for over 1,000 years. Within just a few years of Yarmouk, Jerusalem, Caesarea, and the whole of the Fertile Crescent had fallen under Muslim authority. For the Islamic world, Yarmouk became an enduring symbol of faith, courage, and strategic brilliance, proof, in the eyes of early Muslims, of divine favor toward the new religion. For Byzantium, it marked the beginning of a long, painful contraction that would eventually culminate, 8 centuries later, in the fall of Constantinople in 1453. The Yarmouk River Valley today is a quiet, largely forgotten corner of the Middle East. But the ground beneath it witnessed one of the most consequential clashes in human history. A battle that reshaped civilizations, redirected the course of religion, and carved out the cultural and political map of a region still grappling with its legacy today.